All right, yo, this is Jason Trost, and
Talay Wickham.
we're here for the commentary of FP3. It's upon
Proceed at your
us.
own risk.
Yeah,
Ooh, buckle up.
all the sounds in here are kind of like sound effects that I use that were going to be used throughout the movie later as a kind of precursor to tease you. Now, this is one of the first things we actually shot. This was,
Mm.
I just got a new drone and I sent it up into the clouds up in the real life FP at my dad's place, and there was a storm just coming in. I was like, well, I was gonna fake that initially with the wet shit, but this is perfect. I'm never gonna beat this.
No, that was amazing. And the drone, like, it was so windy. We were like, is it going to come back?
Yeah, because
Will it get
it's one of
lost?
those smaller drones, so like it really doesn't handle the wind very well, but it handled this. So, and that's us in the living room. We got green screened in way down there, which
People
is
will have to
fun.
pause
Yeah,
on
you
that
have to
shot
pause
to
to
really
check that
see
out.
that.
Yeah, and this is just another rainstorm of my dad's place, and then that's us again. We're superimposed in there. We're not actually there. It's green
Oh, wow,
screen,
I didn't
Jay
even.
Tronchai, and this is the green zone, but it's been all wiped out by the wet shit. And as well Bako being wiped out by the wet
And
shit.
these are
This,
all miniatures that we made for
yeah,
the
all miniatures
buildings.
we made in a studio apartment. And same here, we're at the Grapevine set, which comes in later, just kind of teasing you what's to come.
Those awesome masks with our duck claws made by
Yes,
Michael Lee.
the Michael Lee original there. And these are all of our silver screen muggers. We had them freeze in front of a green tarp, and I keyed them out and used them as the wet shit people. They're stone cold sober.
I like the sparkle effect.
Oh yeah, it's like layers of snow and glitter that I had to mix together to make this kind of wet shit. Because I love in old 80s fantasy movies and there's always sparkles and glitter floating around the air, and it's much easier to just do visually now. And again, we're up here at my dad's place in that storm.
Yep. And here
And
is
this,
what's happening.
and here's what's happening. The wet shit is coming. Which, if you're a little bit clued on, it's basically the rain is coming to the FP, and everyone in the FP is allergic to water because YOLO. Little four evs mentioned there. If you know what the title of FP is, you might know a little bit of a precursor of what's to come. And I always like these the red titles over black, like telling you what's going on in the movie or like a video game. Some of my favorite older things, kind of
Yeah.
explanation at the beginning. I love. We tried having Tele voiceover that like we had in FP2, but ended up the music that the Quattrio showed up with was just so rad. I thought it was just badass
Unnecessary.
to just
Plus,
play
when people
music.
have to read, you're paying attention.
Yeah,
Got to try
exactly.
to understand it. Ah, yeah, we've got some old favorites back in this movie. Lots of
Of
people we've
course,
worked with before.
Lee, who shot across the pond from China to contribute in this one in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic.
Yes, that was pretty impressive.
That was wild.
Before we knew, so while we shot this, COVID was just kind of becoming a thing. So this was in like January,
Yeah,
February of 2020. And literally the weekend we did Silver Screen Muggers, the next weekend was when COVID, like
which
America decided COVID was
which was
real.
only like our second week of shooting with two movies back to back, which we had like a month and a half to shoot. So it was like then we spent like a month just like locked down in the green living room
Yeah, with
with like
Michael
four
Lee.
people,
But you
including
can watch
us.
the making of special feature on
Yes,
this
and we'll
disc.
dig into quite a bit more of that.
And here we
And
are.
here we are. We're gonna escape from Bako now. I believe that's actually a drone shot left over from FP2 that I then put some stuff over.
That's a beautiful sign. That's a Michael Lee,
That's a
right?
Michael Lee
Miniature.
FP miniature sign.
And here are Silver Screen Muggers. Yay, we love them. This like gives us hope every movie.
Yeah, this is always the part that supercharges us when we're like beaten up and tired, and then we're like, everybody comes out and has a great time, and they all showed up in their own costumes, and they just really made their own characters and went with it. It's kind of like the most epic FP cosplay festival you can ever come to, and it's just the movie.
Yeah, so basically, if you're a Silver Screen Mugger, you rock up for a weekend, you make your own character, create your own outfit. We have quite a few returners at this point.
Oh yeah,
It's awesome for us because at this point, it's just kind of been 4 or 5 people struggling through. And so this reminds us like why we do this.
absolutely. And I think this was the first thing we actually shot with the Silver Screen Muggers because it's a two
I
day
think so too.
journey,
Yeah.
and this was first up.
Oh, there's art.
Down to KCDC, who's actually sitting on KCDC's old car, which actually just
Yes.
lives in that location on my dad's property
Hmm.
and doesn't move because it's just grown into the ground at this point.
No, and it like all the Silver Screen Muggers kind of get a free run on this property. So they're taking lots of photos and like doing their own sequences and things. Like it's really cool to see.
It's just gonna become like an FP graveyard up there of different
Yeah,
like
pretty
sets and
much.
locations that have grown into the ground. Or
You'll also notice we've like got a lot of reuse from Sarah's costumes that she's made from FP1 and FP2.
we made just a couple little additions or
Adjustments,
adjustments,
yeah.
added little props or here and there, but it's pretty much the same thing because I like in video games and old action movies where people just have the same costume for their character over and over again. It's like, did Han Solo's costume really change from movie to movie in Star Wars? Not really. Still love it.
Ah, yes,
Oh
the
yeah, the Chug Hall
chuckle.
XL. And yeah, this was one of those really, really warm, I'm kidding, cold nights
Oh my gosh, it was
up in the FP.
freezing. I always say, like, please, please dress warmly and layer yourself.
And now, mind you, everyone here is just dancing to nothing as you do in movies.
Yep.
We'd put like a music track on first to try to give people the levels and the volume of what it would be like, and then you record the.
People have had some drinks though, so it does balance out,
Yeah,
you
there aren't
know?
any fake drinks in
No.
these cups,
That
and I'm
Dr. Bitch
sure
was
he
over
was.
there.
I'm sure he was smoking something legal.
Now, this was one of our perks too, was to have your picture in. Mr. Unicorn was one of our silver screen muggers who couldn't make it,
Oh yeah,
so he got a special frame.
Hunter and Maggie.
Hunter and Maggie, who are our first married FP couple, I think, and we think had conceived a baby on this weekend.
We're not sure, but the math works
We're
out.
gonna say that they did. Yeah, we also got to go to their wedding in Austin.
Which was the fell on the world premiere date at Fantastic Fest of FP2, and they
Yeah, the whole wedding party came to that. That was dope.
that was awesome.
Brew, just chilling
Love
at
him,
the
Brew.
bar.
He's now just the bartender, like kind of captain of the FP at this point. I joke that he's kind of like the sheriff in town.
I
And
like all the sound effects too, like that. Has like a
pew,
really nice,
yeah,
yeah.
it's always the classic beat sound effect that's been around since the beginning. The pew. Um, yeah, Brew wearing an eye patch. We had a lot of difficulty with
A
actors having
lot.
to wear the eye patches in this because I didn't realize that I just jam it onto my face because I'm blind and I don't care anymore. But if you can see out of your eye and it hurts, I guess we had to make some adjustments.
This was one of my favorite spontaneous things that happened.
Yeah, because in the script, there's probably about like a paragraph about this entire like 2 minute sequence, which is like, yeah, Jatro works out with some of the townsfolk while Chaitro emerges and walks by. And then on the fly, we just started playing some music
I think we started playing
and
Eminem,
everyone's like, let's do some duck food. And then this just kind
which was
of
also
evolved.
a mild mistake because this was day one, and then day two, everyone underestimates duck fit, but it's exceedingly painful. So the next day, a lot of people were feeling it,
We're quite sore. Well,
quite sore. The
after a day
captain
of working
dictates.
out and a night at the tavern,
Oh, here she is. It's your first
here comes
look.
Chaitro.
And this outfit, I love all this
Yes,
custom cap, custom shirt, custom jacket,
I love the hat. TLDR.
TLDR,
Everything's TLDR in this world.
pretty much.
Yeah, people really got into the workout here, and like this, we shot this like over about an hour, maybe. It was just kind of,
It was first up. Oh no,
it
it was
happened right after
that.
that walk.
Yeah,
Like we were up there
it's
from
like
doing that
11
walk, and
a.m.
everyone was like, "Let's work out,"
I'm like,
and then
already okay.
it just happened, and we just kept going with it and pushing it further and further, and
And
it was
that
all
little
sequence.
baby duck you may remember from FP2, which was at KCDC's. So she's been gifted.
She's taken it out
Belongs
with
to
her on the waist.
DC.
She's gonna be
Yep.
try to become a beat massa on her own.
She hasn't been trained.
Well, she doesn't realize that there's a whole time loop scenario that she's in at this point, and
I mean, yeah,
everything's got to happen how it once happened.
just
It's
kind of running a gym now in the FP.
got Jatro now, who's just, you know, a father. He's never thought this moment would come in the FP franchise, but here we are.
I know.
Jatro just bewildered that he's surrounded by all these strong women and he's just trying to catch up.
It's really funny because Lib's actually a friend of mine from Australia who we've known for like years and years. And when we were trying to figure out how to do Chaitro, it clicked one magical evening. And
Of
so,
course, it's Lib.
of course, it's Lib. We flew her over from Australia.
And this is all at, this is exterior Michael Lee Studios where we shot the living room that was painted green. During COVID, we started just making it our back lot and any spare space we could use around the entire house that was being torn down. We just threw a bunch of garbage back there and went for it. And here, yeah, obviously, we've got some smokers going, which, my dad graciously lent us throughout the movie. So we always just have smokers going, and then matching that visually later was fun and the green screen stuff. Tarp, spray paint, the works. I think there's even some Mortal Kombat spikes hanging out back there. There's just the who's who of FP props littering everywhere. Oh, this is also exterior Michael Lee Studios.
Yep.
We're around back. We turned it into the exterior Hall of Renage. And then now we are in Michael Lee Studios, the garage for the Hall of Renage. I forgot because we just had all these props around and we were kind of just storing them in the garage anyway. And
We were driving
just for
around the
this set.
neighborhood and just like picking. We're also just picking things up. Some family in this neighborhood had obviously owned a Chinese restaurant and were moving out, and we found so many treasures, like huge canvases and the what's it called? Cash register.
Oh yeah,
Um,
there were so many things we found
a
from
lot
that.
of this duck art is from our house.
Yeah, a lot of the duck art. If you see the duck, yeah, the art in the background behind them, that is our own personal duck art we've collected from thrift stores and what have you over the years.
Yeah, we're big fans of that.
3D printed duck skull made by Michael Lee there, which I love. J-Tro's old costume. I mean, there's a lot. There's J-Tro's old boots. There's BLT's boots back
Yeah,
there.
it's kind of like a little
There's the
lots of Easter eggs in
lots
this
of Easter
one.
eggs. There's the FP2 like Beats of Rage summon scroll back there, which I think got featured pretty well. I'm trying to, yeah, there's so much
There's so
going
much
on
stuff in
in
this.
this room because we kind of hid this as like KCDC's
He's got
Hall
his
of
little rubber
Treasures.
duckies on his yellow seat, which is also covered in cling wrap. That was something Michael Lee and I had a lot of fun doing.
Oh yeah, yeah, this set was a lot of fun
Yeah,
just because it's just packed with so many FP franchise treasures
it's true.
from over the years.
Also, like game consoles. Like we've got some stuff from J Trost, shop and FP2 in there.
Oh yeah, Art killing it. Art, who's basically the KCDC character, has just become Colonel Troutman from Rambo. He kind of gives you your mission and sends you on your way.
He's like the keeper of,
Find antiquities and
yeah,
knowledge.
knowledge.
He always knows about the prophecy that no one else knows about or necessarily believes.
He's not good at communicating that
He's
sometimes.
just got a lot of feelings. He's trying to get them out. We've all been there.
We have all been there. It's true.
I love the what were those Disney
Oh my God,
princesses
that was
that you spray
terrifying.
painted and then put the duck bills on
Yeah, we had
in
these
the
like
background?
random like 2-year-old sized Disney princesses, and then Michael Lee and I were like, what do we do with these? So we spray painted them, and then he made them custom duck beaks. There's one in the background. Do we see it? I don't think know if we see it. It was pretty disturbing. I was
Also, there's a duck down there, a
She's
plush duck
blue, yeah.
called Detro that I
Oh,
got from yeah, I
Detro.
got from a screening in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah,
That some
Detro
peeps I met there
features.
gave to me, and I just saw him. Detro was down there.
And those
Good.
were the Ninja scrolls in the
Oh
background
yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh yeah, and then that's actually a duck language that Michael Lee created back there. That's the
Yeah.
cipher for it
Yeah.
in the deep background,
I
deep
think
right.
people have
Yeah.
started to clue on, but are still kind of
There is a
deciphering.
duck language that actually works,
Hmm.
and so when you see duck language on things, it actually says things.
We can't do anything
Sean
without
back,
Sean.
Estanya.
Yeah, for Muggers Weekends, we always try to bring like as many of the cast as possible to those, so that you guys get to meet all your favorites.
Yeah, and just hang out, and it's kind of like this is like our in-person FP fest at this point.
Pretty
These
much. It's
weekends.
pretty fun.
Yeah, everyone just comes out and cosplays, and you're just in the FP world. Everyone's having some drinks, having a good time.
And then so Saturday night, we always like then go to Sue's Tavern in town. So we try to finish around 8 so we can go and like party with everyone and have a boogie. And
And we're always like, we're so tired from shooting, we're only gonna have a drink or two, and then we always end up closing the bar.
yeah, there was actually a lot. We have some great behind the scenes of some very drunk people falling out of cars
Oh
on
yeah,
our side. So
private behind the scenes.
yes, there was an army crawl from an elevator to a bedroom that night.
Sometimes you just gotta get it done. And it's freezing here, and like I was even wearing a jacket in the scene,
Oh
and
my
I was really
God.
cold, so you were just dying.
I was dying. Luckily, Matthew, who is our giant bird, was sheltering me in his wings, and I had a barn I could then run to. But and so was Lib. We were both just so cold.
Well, I love it. There's one of these shots coming up with you here in these wide shots, and I actually thought on the export that something was fucking up with the camera because it was shaking. I was like, oh, the camera's not shaking. It's just you shaking.
There.
Right there. You're actually shivering because it's so cold. And I was like, oh,
Holding on
okay.
for
And I was
dear
like, oh,
life.
you're just shivering. It's not a digital, nothing's going on. Okay.
It was oh, that was so cold.
And
And there was a huge rainstorm, I
this
think.
is the Ninja bracelet here that Michael
Yeah.
Lee made. And those are
Um,
all little arrows on there.
mm-hmm.
And what
That
those arrows are will probably come more into view in the next movie.
exactly. FP4. Yeah, we have lots of stuff that continues on. So when we made FP3 and 4, we kind of were toying with the idea of releasing it as a double feature.
Because as they are two different movies, I do think if you watch them together, it'll be like one big 3 hour story, which was always the intention.
Yeah.
Because we kind of wanted to mimic that silly thing that a lot of people do, like it's the Avengers movies and things, where it's like 3 and 4 back to back.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the joke. I'm using finger quotes here.
Michael Lee also made my crown. Our wonderful hair and makeup person, Adrian, who's also one of our executive producers from FP2, she wasn't able to actually do it on this one. So she took me shopping, which was a life saving. And so we kind of designed a concept, and then Lib and I just kind of had to implement it ourselves. So I missed her deeply.
Yeah,
Adrian, I missed you.
this one very much became like on a play. Like the actors are dressing themselves, doing their own makeup,
Yeah.
and everyone's doing multiple
Actually,
things
yeah,
at
our hair
once.
and makeup trailer is the Chug Holes trailer.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
Lib started getting into set design at one point. She had some spray paint cans out.
Oh my gosh. And then breaking this set down like on the Sunday when you're just exhausted and it's freezing, and we did it though.
Yeah, I really like the tenderness of this scene.
Yeah.
It also bookends with later on in the movie when she destroys the booze comet and the same music is playing and everything.
And then Stanya is all improvised mainly, and they are pregnant. Sean's awesome because the way he works is we just kind of feed him lines and he improvises, and it's so much fun. He keeps us all on our toes. And trying not to laugh, I think, is one of the biggest challenges when working with Sean.
Oh, always. And like at least we have practice with it, but I know it's really hard for the silver screen muggers because he just comes out swinging right out of the gate.
And Sean's wife, Sheena, she also always comes. Sheena's awesome. And so she helps with like all of the hair and makeup for Stanya's character.
Oh
She's
yeah,
got the
it's a team
magic
effort.
touch at this point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and now we're in the booze mines. This
Yeah,
is cool to
now,
talk about.
yes, we're in the booze mines right outside there. That was just a piece of a rock wall, like a tiny rock wall down in Burwing in the south coast of Australia that we took. But now, and actually, okay, there's a lot going on here. We've got Michael Lee made their actual remix, like the gate there. It's a miniature. And then I made these little ladders that I would put in there, but then I also found like rock wall pieces and comped those in. And I have a bunch of layers of smoke and other things going by, but all the background pieces are real. Like that
Yeah.
was, we went wine tasting with Lib and her boyfriend Tristan, and we were actually waiting in the parking lot for them to pack up. And I saw this good like rock wall right next to
Mm.
where our car was parked, and I just grabbed some shots of it here, and that ended up being the entire background of the scene, which was very funny to me.
Yeah, and the flashlight is a reuse from FP2.
I think we actually remade it because the old one,
Yeah.
disappeared at the time, and it's very hard to, get a mason jar and duct
Duct
tape it
tape.
to a mag or
I
flashlight.
think
So,
most things have duct tape and spray paint and glitter.
and
Like
glitter,
that's our
zip
starting
ties.
point. Zip ties are a godsend.
Yep. And this was, I feel like this was one of the first big like green screen scenes we
Oh, the
shot with
pads on the ground.
the
Michael,
pads
you
on the
made
ground. Yeah.
those. Concrete.
One of the big first green screen scenes we shot with Marcus, our DP,
Yeah.
and everyone was there, and we had the crew there, and the crew, the three of us.
You get very good at doing everything, like pressing record, making sure sound's rolling.
Yeah, and all the actors. Like this is actually for this scene in particular. If you watch the behind the beats, there's a whole moment of how it actually looks when we're shooting this, and it's
Yeah.
just silly. So hats off to everyone involved for acting these scenes because we're literally just in a living
Oh,
room painted green.
my chai tea.
Oh, your
Those are
beer
also full
holster.
of beer.
Love the beer
Love
holsters.
the beer holsters.
That was that thing where we wanted holsters because we're getting more adventure-y, but we're
I
like,
do love how you did this. Like, I love the like going back through
oh
time.
yeah, rewind
Yeah.
because we're doing the remix, and then we're
Oh,
back
and
to
this
the
is Jason's little
yeah,
sister Sam.
post-credit scene from FP2,
Yeah.
rewinding.
And there's our girl.
Now we've remixed. We're going to the grapevine. Now, I actually built that background with like the mountains and the pink thing coming. That was a piece built in our garage back in LA, back when I was doing tests for miniatures. And then all of this I built here piece by piece at a time in our little studio apartment. And then I put those mountains back there. And this was actually like, I think this was my first big build in post where I really was learning how to do the miniature work. And it turned out pretty well. I
That
was pretty
effect is
excited by it.
cool.
Oh yeah, that's just a bunch of different dust storms put on top of each other and colored and put glitter. And there's so many, a lot of
So many
these scenes
layers.
have like 50, 60 video layers on top of them. It's quite intense and complicated. And
Yeah.
that was just, I was just standing still, flopping around in front of a green screen on that. And then I just, digitally threw myself through the air and
This is like a really, if you're curious how you do it, I really recommend watching Behind the Beats because we don't really hide anything. Like it's
Oh
quite,
no, there's a lot of movie magic going on. This
yeah.
is all, and it's really silly. You can do it. You can do what we did anywhere. Like that's what
Although
this
I will
crew.
say, like watching Jason teach himself this, I mean, this is a whole new level for you. Like
Yeah,
to
I've
do,
always dabbled with it, but this was the first time where I was like, I'm gonna make an entire green screen movie.
yeah, two actually. We did
Yeah.
have that moment when we were
Yeah.
shooting, being like, will this even work? Like, how?
That was every day. That was
Yeah,
always breakfast. Like you come in, you're like, this isn't gonna work. Then by lunch, you're like, well, who cares? If it's not gonna work. We just have to shoot something.
yeah. And then by the end of the day, you're painting a living room green
Yeah.
again.
I was always operating on the knowledge of I'm pretty sure this is gonna work. This should work.
Well, it's
But
all on you, really.
yeah.
Like, you have to figure out the
But
programming.
it's all experience. It's judging by the experience over time I've had of like this should work. Things like this have worked in
Yeah.
the past for me.
There
Maybe
were
that was the
so many
scale.
drawings of like, because when you're shooting on green screen, you're always kind of facing one way. So there were so many drawings you had of like, which,
Oh yeah,
like, where
like
is it?
in the morning I would have to make a not just like a shot list or a storyboard, but I actually had to point us around at like for the coverage and not breaking the line of which way actors are looking, which like basically which side of frame they'd have to look to be looking at each other because it's not traditionally like it's much easier when you're shooting practically because you know where everyone is and you just know everything works, but
Yeah.
you have to kind of like draw these like almost like football plays if you know what those look like with little circles and arrows of people like which way they look, which way they move, and it was very mathematical and to kind of try to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then especially when we're shooting actors, what's great about green screen is you can bring actors in for a day or two in what would normally take you 2 weeks if you were shooting practically. So there's a lot of stuff
Oh
that's,
my God, like when people ask me like, "Oh, don't you miss shooting live action?" It's like, well, when you're shooting a no budget movie by yourself, it was so much easier to we didn't have to shoot nights. We shot 8 hours a day. We didn't have to be cold.
well, I mean,
Like,
that's true. Like, but we shoot 8 hours a day. But the thing is, we're using the
we're
mornings
prepping.
to
Yeah.
prep, get ready. And then at the end of the day, we're still prepping, like repainting the green.
Absolutely. But what I'm saying is like you actually get to like focus on the movie. And I
That's
think
true.
it was a lot more fun I found with like actors and things. We could actually focus more like on performances because you're not like staring in the background and being like, oh God, what's that extra doing? Is that, oh God, is there a water bottle back there? Is
I
something
mean, these
wrong
are
with
the
the
undrums. Did
background?
you want to talk? Oh, and then we've got this. So
Oh
now we're
yeah.
kind of in Running Man.
Yeah, we're in Running Man mode here. We've got Tom Softy and Jim Scary, which are Talay and Lib
Oh yeah, this
underneath
is the first thing
the
Lib and I shot
costumes.
together.
I think this was like the first thing we shot, period.
I think so too. We were just like, all right, fuck it.
It
I
was
guess we
like,
have to try.
because you and Lib were just making these guys and we just put them
I
together.
loved making them. Oh,
We
I
got
made
Beat
that
Cannon
sup.
back
Yeah,
there.
Michael and I made that sup helmet.
As Jeff Howell, Forklift, as
Yeah.
Beat Beat Bounty Hunter with the
Also
sup.
our BTS.
Now this is like our, your video game level select screen from the Sega Genesis days. And the undrunks here, those are all two people. It's Fridge Boy, Ryan Gibson, and Jeff Howell Forklift. And I just had them run in a bunch of different ways and different patterns and this and that. And I just multiplied them by hundreds. And they became the undrunk in post.
And that was fun too. Oh, AK's back. I think this is our first
Yeah, it's our
mic.
first AK. And then, of course, LWE, the Brobot LW.
God, cleaning that costume was disgusting. I think it had just been like
Left in a garage
left
for
in a
10 years.
garage, peeled off his body, and then when I took it out, it smelled so bad. So I think I broke my iPhone actually washing that costume.
Maybe.
It was pretty intense.
Here we got a good running in place moment in front of the green screen. And then this one is tricky to figure out how to do in post because you have to incrementally make the background go away from you. So I'm digitally making it get further and further away
Yeah.
from us, and that includes like smoke sources and different layers. This was very
And I will also say
complicated,
running
but I
in
enjoyed
place
it.
is almost worse than running. Like I would rather just run.
Yeah,
Running in place is really hard
it's very hard.
and it hurts.
But the good news is everyone stays in focus, which anyone who's shot people running knows that focus is a nightmare. And then again, we've got our army back
Mhm.
there of undrunks. It's just there's so many things you can dial in easier when you're making a low budget movie because I can take all the time in the world in post because I'm only, you know, making it hard on myself as opposed to a bunch of people, and I don't like making it hard on people anymore.
No.
This was a very fun scene to shoot on the green screen. Just throwing Lib on the back and being like, okay, we're running through a booze storm that you have no idea what it looks like yet. And we're running from these things that you don't know what they look like yet. And just trust that I know what they look like. I think I know what they look like.
Yeah.
And this one was interesting to get going because you're trying to get these things flying through the air and things to simulate speed when you're running. So it all kind of becomes like an anime. I was watching lots of cartoons and playing video games to be like, how do they do this?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a little anime book club. So also what happened when we were working on posters, Sydney actually went into its hardest lockdown so far. So we were in lockdown from June until what? It's now October, November, October, like mid-October.
Yeah, it was a good 4 months.
Yeah, but it kind of worked because we set ourselves a deadline. So we were working on this 7 days a week, pretty
Oh
much.
yeah, I was going cross-eyed for sure.
Yeah.
This set was fun because I have a lot of toys and things back there that I like. We've got semi trucks, train pieces, and things like that. And I wrote some things on there in post. And we've got the moon back there with the beat arrows, which anyone who saw that, hats off. This was a fun little set to build. This was one of the early ones as well. And yeah,
Gotcha.
we finally get to the red zone here, and the different zones or the different layers of intensity of the booze storm as we get closer and closer to the purple where the Quattro Cano lies.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is one of those scenes we had to shoot ourselves because Marcus wasn't here that day.
Yeah, so
And
Marcus got a really cool job. So about a week into production, he did an awesome lighting setup for us on the green screen, which was great. And then we would come in and just turn everything on.
yeah, we turn everything on and basically we'd press. A lot of times I'd have to like with the beatnuts on, pull focus, press record on the camera, step into frame. On the floor we'd have all off of the green screen, but we could see them. We'd have these tape marks that line
Yeah.
us up to be like, for this lens you're in focus here, you should be at this point. For this lens you should be there. And it was
And Michael Lee was also like crucial getting us into costumes. Those beatnuts, I couldn't put them on by
I
myself.
think we
Like,
did it once or twice and really regretted it doing
yeah,
it by ourselves because we had
absolutely.
to, and it was just kind of
Michael Lee is like our, I mean, you say it's really like Jason, myself, Michael Lee, and then anyone else who's there on the day. So we're all kind of operating, recording, special effecting, everything.
yeah, whoever has a free hand, pressing
Yeah.
record for sound, all those things. We got Mike here, who has graciously came back for this movie. I
Yes.
think his one thing was I'm not wearing the wig again. I was like, all right, that's
Fine.
fair. And because in this movie he's kind of making the transformation to becoming a Tro again, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it makes you look a little more normal. That's fair.
Yeah. And Mike is the person who makes me laugh the most on set.
Well, Mike is just
I
so
lose it.
naturally hilarious.
Yeah.
And he always just comes in, gets it done, has a great time,
Yep.
rolls out. He's a delight to work with. And I love that Michael Lee he made the robot mask here for L-Dub, and it actually moves along with the jaw. So you'd have to like Velcro it to the jaw, so it like sticks on there, and there's like a chin strap in there, and the whole jaw moves around, and it really it kind of looks like the animatronic pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, the ride, and I really
Yes.
enjoyed that. So we kind of rolled into that direction for him.
And I remember we were on our way to set, and Jason was like, "Something's missing. We need to stop and get something for the beard." And I was so tired at that point. I was like, "No, it's fine." But we did, and honestly, it
Yeah,
made it.
it just wasn't looking right. There's the version
Yeah,
where it's just a robot skull and it looked cool and everything. It was very like Terminator 2 or whatever with the grilled teeth. But once we got that beard
yeah,
glued down to the mask and then it moves with the mouth, it just
it's
makes everything funnier to
hilarious.
me. That was instrumental. And here we've got the big Bako set. Now, all those little pieces back there, we found these cool styrofoam inserts on the
Yeah,
street, and I talk more about this in the behind the beats, but had to paint those up, take pictures of them, and insert them back there. And this was a lot of fun to comp in. And these are those same pieces, but tipped over in the background, just to have a different look with them. Tipped over, put from different sides, different angles.
it was fun working out how every person used the beatnuts too,
Oh yeah, like our
because each
different
character,
stances.
yeah, has like a style. I just love them. And you ordered all those parts,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like the main parts that have like the beat arrows are they're actually PS2 DDR dance pads.
Mm-hmm.
I had to order those on eBay from England or something before the shoot, so Michael Lee could, kit bash those onto it. But then Michael Lee also reached out to his DDR friends and found actual broken pieces of or sorry DDR machines
Yeah.
and put those onto the gloves as well. So they're like top to bottom like DDR tech.
They're so cool.
And they're kind of heavy. Like we did so many phantom punches in this movie, just punching at nothing because it's all on green screen.
Oh, I
That
didn't
I
notice.
remember I threw out my shoulder and didn't realize it,
Yep.
and I kind of like had to spend a month like taking it easy and doing stretches and re-strengthening again because I between this movie and the next movie really threw a lot of fake punches.
That beautiful is a shout out to Tristan.
Yeah, if Tristan was watching this, it's a beautiful night.
Yep.
Here we got our beat map. We're catching up, getting our running man on. Yeah, these guys are fun. I just wanted to have a crazy interlude, and also I wanted to make it because Jim Scary is basically the game announcer that you've heard throughout all the movies, and I thought that was a fun thing to finally tie in and visualize. Oh yeah, and these above shots were actually really tricky because it was the one thing we didn't really get in America, so I had to do it again
Oh,
here,
yeah.
and I didn't have a green screen for the ground here. So I had to find something that was a neutral color that I could key out, and I realized that there were some back alleys here in Sydney that I could just dress up as an undrunk and run and get smacked from above. And that was very hard to like throw a drone up to be above me and then running around looking like this in an alley during COVID.
Yeah.
And then you always, I don't care how secretive or quick you are, someone would come out and be like, why you got a drone out, mate? Why you look like that? You trying to rob me? And I'm like, no, that's exactly what it looks like. And there's no way for me to convince you I'm not doing that, but I'm not, bye. And run away. But anyway, it was worth it.
We tried how many? Like 5 different spots,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
I
Because
know.
we
It
had
was
like grass. We were just trying to find a
trying to find
color.
anything.
We bought like a giant tarp. It was,
Concrete worked out the best.
yeah.
Luckily for me, because falling on concrete sucked, but it worked out. And then here, yeah, I like the idea that we're inside of the Beat game, kind of like this is the FP's version of something like Beat Saber
Yeah. And Michael Lee did all the Vlib jacket too, the TLDR and the awesome
and the awesome,
document, which is
cool
Michael
duck
Lee.
back there, yeah, which is Michael Lee as a duck. Yeah, punching me in the alley there. It's great. Punching myself. Um, yeah, I just had to keep adding things to this because as itself, it just didn't look enough like we were in a video game, and I wanted this one to start feeling like we're inside of a video game. So it was that fine balance of figuring out how much you go or how far you go, which is usually just keep going as far as you want
Yeah.
in the FP worlds. And it's fun because I got to do all these camera moves in post that, wouldn't have existed there. Like that was a fun one from L-Dub, like, dollying off from him and then rack focusing to us. That's a good thing about the green screen stuff too, is you can control all of your rack focusing and what's in focus and what isn't in focus. Like
Yeah.
if you want to go down the nerd rabbit hole, like there's another rack focus. Like you can do a lot of fun stuff. And the more you do that, the more believable it kind of looks. Oh yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
Black Dick can here that Michael Lee made. It's called back to the first FP where Clifton
We went
Collins.
through so many
So many versions of the
versions
Black
of
Dick
this. And then we
can.
found, Michael Lee found that size
Well, yeah,
can.
we want a tall boy because it's like the 24 ouncer because they're taller and more aggressive. And we're just like, God, L-Dub's got to have his own drink. In the script, we had it that he had a booze drink. And then, like, I remember we were in post and, like, it was once Michael Lee made the duck claw ones. I was
Yeah.
like, dude, holy shit, can you make a Black Dick can? And then,
And
like,
then
Michael Lee's like, oh, I don't know, maybe. And then the next day, it's like, shows up with this awesome version of it.
But then it
Totally
just got
works.
better.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Michael Lee. He never settles. If there's like another level, he does it. And I remember then like on the green screen, shaking those up and cracking them
Oh my
to
God.
try
No,
to do the
oh yeah, we
explosion.
tried to throw them. There's so
Oh my
many failed attempts of
God.
us like throwing the beer, like a full beer made like a Black Dick, full of beer, shaking it up like a grenade, throwing it at the ground, trying to make it spew out like it would. And
Oh
I
my
used so many
God.
different pieces of failures to kind of gel it together and make something work. Oh, and this is also Ryan Gibson, Fridge Boy. Oh,
Yeah.
there's the Brusque Z, the sequel there, which will come in a little bit more in a second. And again, this is Jeff Howell and Fridge Boy as all of our Brusque Z's in the green zone.
Yeah, I think
Again,
this is kind of like the Emerald City.
yeah, of booze trash. Employing similar tactics as the Undrunks, like it's just the same two guys over and over again doing different things, holding different props. And to be fair, like since FP1, we've been reusing extras, so I think we're just
Yeah.
keeping the energy alive. These were really fun to make the level select things for me in post,
They
like
look
taking
so
different
good.
pictures and so we found these bottles when we were going around. I think we were up in the Blue Mountains outside of Sydney, and we were at some old antique shop, and then like out in the woods, they had just these cool like booze bottles, and I was like, this booze bottle stand, it looks like a pot leaf, but of booze bottles, and I'm
Well,
like,
it's so cool. That's one of those things I'm like, how have we never made this?
exactly, but it's one of those things where you see it, and I was like, because originally I wanted the green zone because it's the green zone, haha, to be basically full of weed because they're doing liquid grass. But then I found these like booze bottle like weed trees, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's perfect.
It's
How
also
did I
a
not
nice
think of that?
transition, you know, like it's both.
But it's like with the FP movies and all of our movies, our best stuff comes of just finding something real life and kind of altering it.
Yeah, and it's my favorite thing that we do. Like Jay and I will just kind of travel around or go around to a place and, pull off the side of the road and, inspiration strikes and just start taking photos. We always have like our drone and our camera.
And that being said, like here we are
Yeah.
up in the Blue Mountains, finding that. Michael Lee made little duck statue men up there.
Yeah, and that is me or Michael Lee.
That's
That
you.
one. That's me.
That one's you.
I
You're,
cannot explain how claustrophobic it is.
yeah, Talei's the good duck. Michael Lee is the bad duck. So Talei's got blue eyes. Michael Lee's got red eyes.
No, there's Michael Lee,
The Listerine bottle's been around since the dawn of time, obviously.
obviously. And Michael Lee made this whole concept. So we've got like the tarps that are sewn, the classic hats, the
Oh yeah, and this is BMX or Beat Massa X, which we'll get into more in future installments, and his army of L Black Ds.
yeah,
You know, the
love it.
LWE clones or brobots, if you will. And you can kind of see in the black and white here, but the good one, you have a blue tarp and he has a silver tarp, and
Yeah,
or you have a yeah, and he has a red hat. Like there's
and I've
it's
got
the
a
blue
blue
and the
hat.
red.
Yeah. Oh
These
my
are
gosh. And there's
different L dubs made walking and different things and silhouetted and the different layers of fire. This was a whole. The shot was very complicated, but my inspiration for this was if anyone's seen it, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind with the giant fire gods walking around.
we made the sparkly volcano.
Made the sparkly volcano in the garage and then inserted it into down the coast of Australia, the background. I actually had a few different versions of how I was doing the Quattrocano. At first, I tried to build a whole like miniature landscape and have smokers going, the whole thing. I just kind of it didn't quite work out the way I wanted, so I just took a picture of the Quattrocano itself on a green screen and then inserted that to a Australian Rocky background and went from there. And this is LWE doing his slow-mo firewalk, which anyone who is a fan of Final Fantasy VII will know that's a little ode to Sephiroth. Of course, we have Fridge Boy here as the sequel, doing his walking against green screen, walking in place. And then we do our little walking in place mode here.
I mean, the Fan Master is like a design. Once we get there, you should talk a
Oh
bit
yeah,
about of how you.
absolutely. This whole sequence here came along pretty well. It came, I'd say, a little even better than I thought it would when we were first doing it. It was just
Mm.
this one was a lot of fun to build with all the stuff and
I like all the like. It's really cool how you've changed the bottles now to be almost like over us, like an archway.
oh yeah. Got lots of flares in there, lots of glitter floating around, and of course we've got Farm Massa Default here coming up, which went through a lot of different versions. There's actually a sketch I have somewhere where that set looks pretty similar when I first started out in post, which I'm excited that it actually turned out like this. But yeah, we built him out of what, like a water jug
Yeah.
with like hot glue guns, and I just like aged all these different pieces of cardboard to simulate the wood, and inserted some fire in there for his teeth that talk and his eyes that glow and
You got a lot
smoke
of
coming out of his
paddle pop
top.
sticks.
Yeah, a lot of paddle pop sticks. There was just so many different things hot glued onto that water bottle and painted, and it was a fun night. And then we were just, against a green screen, just staring, looking at something, which is fun. I'm like, I promise it'll work out later. And I think that other background, actually, when we were up at the Blue Mountains, his little culvert that he sits in there, this little rock background was up on top of a cliff there, and I chopped that out and comped that in with all these. And oh, we got the booze bottle wind fans in the background, which was something I
Yeah.
wanted early on because anyone who's been to California knows, like in Southern California, there's lots of the wind fans blowing around. And I was like, well, in the future, of course, they're booze bottle fans because we're powering booze tech. And yeah, we had to take pictures of what the booze bottles that we painted, and then we had to make little fan pieces, and I had to rotate and move them digitally later on and at the right speed with everything. And for something that's usually out of focus and far off in the background, quite a bit of work went into those booze wind towers.
Absolutely.
We got a bunch of Jeff Howells and Fridge Boys walking around in the background, which is great. When you're doing green screen, you have those things loaded into like, the Matrix essentially. When you're like, I need some extras, you just, drag and drop them, which makes, my life a whole lot easier. especially considering this thing's held together by glue. Everything's
Mhm.
hiding some mistake in the background of something that's basically falling down. So fun shot. We transfer from the booze towers down to the booze storm below.
Yep.
And Talay painted up this beat pod.
I did, yes.
Yeah, we were making those beat pods in our apartment and painting them up one night, I think, while we were watching Sister Act.
Oh yeah, Sister Act and Sister Act
Oh,
2.
yeah, we
That
needed
was the
two.
long one.
It was a long. Oh, and we're back in Michael Lee's garage now. So the Hall of Renage set was then flipped over to be the interior beat pods.
Mhm.
And of course, L-Dub's drinking black dick and driving because that's how he rolls. And this is actually the same set virtually as the Jatro, Chitro, Chai Tea pod.
Yep.
And we put a red filter over the lens on this one and threw and swapped in a couple different set piece things and just went for it because we were running out of space in Michael Lee Studios and to reuse some things.
I mean, and those pads we bought down from the FP,
Yeah,
like,
those are still the
yeah.
same pads from the first movie and just beat to shit as always. Yeah, that pad was the one that I broke on FP2.
Oh, I love this set. Like, this is really small.
This set was fun. This one took a lot of work because we've got the kegs, which I knew I wanted, we had to find because on Thursdays here they would take out all their kegs like from bars. So I would just go around and get pictures of kegs. And there's little piles of junk down there Michael Lee made for us, little miniature junk pieces. And then those big gear pieces were from Sydney Park. And I went and saw and I liked and took pictures of. I have a post-it note that I put on the wall over there, live music, whether you want it or not. And this is Jerry's Grass Station because it's an ode for me to anyone who's actually been to real life Bakersfield, Jerry's Pizza. And that was a funny spot in my youth. My friends, we used to go down there.
This is in the making.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool.
Yeah, we went over a bit of this in the behind the beats of how we made this set. And this one, I think we shot this scene the same day that we shot the version of this scene
Yeah.
in the future because I wanted them to be back and like I wanted it to be fresh in our minds to kind of do the
Yeah,
time
the
loop.
throwback, right?
Yeah, where it's the chicken or the egg, like which one of
Yeah.
us actually said this first to each other. We'll
Yeah,
never know.
it's a really nice moment.
Yeah, it's fun as fast and crazy as a movie is to actually have a moment where we kind of sit down and humanize the situation.
Yeah, what I really like about FP3 is like it kind of took a direction I don't think either of us were expecting. Like it's quite heartfelt and there are some really nice moments. The first time we watched it, I got a bit teary.
Well, we've joked, it's like the movies mature with the audience.
Yeah.
Like we're all getting older and we're growing with the movies, and maybe certain things we thought were funny when we were 21 aren't so funny anymore, and we want to, say some real shit.
It's very much like as the movies are growing, so is the community of the FP. Like, people are having families and getting married, and like, we're in no way saying like it has to be a conventional thing, but it's really interesting as we all kind of hit like from 20s to 30s. Um, I feel like the movies are kind of reflecting some things that have happened.
Yeah, God help us when this franchise gets to a point where we're all in our 50s.
I'm
These
actually
movies turn
really
into,
excited for that 80s. Like, let's just keep going,
just keep it up, see how it
see what
does.
we can do.
Yeah, God only knows what kind of movie magic we'll have at that point.
And that's the greatest thing too, is like in all of the FP fests, which we just did our second annual FP fest. It's just so lovely because it gives us a chance to connect with all the peeps and like kind of like the Silver Screen Muggers weekend is like see how talented and amazing everyone is who supports, this franchise at this point. Um, it's really, really affirming and it's a really nice reminder to you kind of have these moments where you're so social making movies and then you're completely isolated.
Yeah, it goes from 0 to 60 or whatever because you are completely around people all the time, and then I'll spend, a year in post by myself. And then you
Mhm.
get into a strange place, apparent, especially when there's a pandemic and you're like, does anybody even care about these anymore? So what am I doing? Do I care? And like you get into a weird place. So it's nice to have the FP Fest to be like, yeah, everyone does care. They're super talented. They're amazing. It just reminds us why we make these movies in the first place. And
And this was the first one where we did a release of FP3 ourselves during FP Fest. So that was amazing as well, to actually release our own film at our own festival.
in our own way, and you get to release it the way you want to release it. Because a lot of times when you release a movie, especially when you're a smaller movie and you go with a distributor, they go out of their way to sell people a movie that isn't really your movie. Like, because they all they care about is the bottom dollar, trying to make themselves more money.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make a trailer that doesn't quite represent your film accurately. They're gonna make a poster that doesn't represent your film accurately. So naturally, when anyone sees it, they're gonna be really upset because they've been sold something completely different that your movie isn't. And it's fun being able to control that. We also get to control, like, I think a lot of people who've seen FP3 are pretty surprised about what the movie actually is and what it's about. That's a testament to we actually get to control the trailer and not blow everything, because I hate watching a trailer and then essentially just knowing what the movie is. It's just now it's just a summary of the movie. It's no longer a tease. And I
Yeah.
think trailers and any sort of marketing should be a tease. And it's really been fun to control that on this. Um, Here we go. We're starting up the beat pod chase here, which always in the script was one of the most ridiculous things where everyone, myself included, is kind of like, how are we going to do this? It's
Yes.
like, I've got a lot of ideas. I don't know if they're going to work. And I think over time it did end up working. And I think really here, beyond like the, crazy effects and miniatures and other stuff we had to do, which was nuts, the Quattrio, the music guys, they really blew the doors off it with this stuff. Like
Oh, the Quattro are.
when they just give me these Sega Genesis, like, bangers that just fly
Mhm.
in here, I'm always just like, God, does this scene work? And then they give me the song. I'm like, oh, this scene really works.
And the
Thanks a
name
lot,
Quattro
guys.
actually came from the first FP Fest.
Yeah, because
Um,
people were joking, what is their band called? Because there's three of them,
yeah,
like, you guys the Quattrio, and now they
they
are the
are the
Quattrio.
Quattro,
So,
and they will be selling the soundtrack.
yes, the soundtrack will
Yep.
be available on at least Bandcamp.
Mhm.
They're taking care of that side of things. So,
There's also that great special feature of their video clip of "In the
yes,
Heat of
on
the
the
Night."
Blu-ray, there is the music video, which they made for the first FP Fest, which was
Yep.
amazing. Oh man, yeah. So, as much as I guess it's Jim Scary as like the announcer, classic announcer voice of the FP world, Tom Softy was kind of my version of a DMX. R.I.P. That was my DMX impression.
Mm.
Really enjoyed him. Configuring a new beat offer. And this whole concept of like flying these kind of like space beat shuttles
Yeah.
was just ridiculous. This was a big thing where I'm like, is this too much? Are people going to freak out at this? But I honestly didn't care because I just wanted to have a very early on. I think even before the first FP movie came out, I've always wanted to have a moment to where we were having a chase on vehicles that were powered by beat. I think initially it was like I wanted to be like trucks because I wasn't thinking that big, and then I was like, what if we just do spaceships? That'd be great. And just to show you the escalation of things that come with these movies, I want beat power to power all sorts of different things. I don't want it to just be like the Rocky movies to where each time it's like, oh, who's he gonna face this time? Which I mean, I love Rocky, but I want these movies to be crazy and different every time. And I think the idea of just like facing someone in a tournament every movie would get stale. So we're just trying to figure out new adventurous ways to upgrade the tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And it like just keeps kind of developing. I mean, I think that's the thing with this one, like the traditional beat off is kind of
Well, yeah, it's like beating off is almost like using the force, at
pretty
this
much. And
point.
I feel like that is the direction it's going.
Yeah, it's getting wilder and wilder where it's different types of video games. And I just want these to I want you to feel like you're kind of existing inside of a video game. Like, I heard people saying that it feels like you're just inside of a live action video game. And I was
Mm,
like, that is
that's the
100% the goal
goal.
of these movies,
Yeah, for sure.
especially because I don't really watch too many movies anymore, but I play a lot of video games. So I feel like I know a lot more of what I want to see in that way.
I feel like we do. We still watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, sometimes. And this was really fun. I had an idea of this, like, what if in an action sequence, because I knew when I was writing this, like, we have to train Chitro, obviously, to beat.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if we just do a training montage within an action sequence? And this whole sequence was born because I was like, we just don't have time for a training
No.
montage in this movie. So where do we put it? The obvious choice, a climactic action sequence.
Well, I mean, she's got the power.
And she's got the moves. She's got the power from both sides.
Yeah.
Ancient ass blood and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
these were really, yeah, just doing these because I had like drone shots going, I had still shots going that I'm doing like optical or like digital zoom in and outs of. A lot of the times with the beat pods, some of the times it's video of the beat pods, and sometimes it's just a picture of them that I'm moving around digitally and adding effects to the end of and making them move around and actually digitally pushing the camera in and out to try to make it simulate some sort of real thing that was made, not just a picture that we took in an apartment. So it's pretty exciting that it came out looking the way it did.
I mean, and it is kind of a throwback to your training scene from FP2 with Brew, which people made an amazing Lego version of. That is also a special feature.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you get a chance, check out the Lego FP2 training montage reenactment from FP2. It's fantastic.
Yeah, the Gnaders, just Josie and Dan knocked it out of the park with that one. That was part of FP Fest 2021. They submitted that, and I think we even have a comparison of like against the real
Yeah, they have
sequence.
that somewhere. We need to get them to put that
Yeah,
out because it's incredible. It's
yeah.
shot for shot.
I don't know how they did it
It took them a very long time. Like that training montage was hard enough doing
in real.
practically.
I remember all those. It was.
Matching the edit alone on that was
I
tricky enough.
know, crazy.
Jatro just bewildered. There's too many powerful women around. I like the idea with my evolution for Jatro was always that he's this person who looks and should be like this aggro main character, but he's always just trying to fit in. Is actually quite like level-headed and emotional, but it's like he's kind of been in his youth trying to like pretend like he's what people want him to be, but now he's kind of falling more into the fact that he's just like this hero trying to keep up in this tribe of powerful women. And I just thought it's kind of, similar to my real life, I suppose. Just generally surrounded by very powerful women that are much smarter than me and trying to keep up. And yeah, we did that beat pod crash there. I remember we had a couple angles, like a GoPro, another one, and we had like some confetti, like
Yep.
firework blast thing that we had in there, something for the explosion. Did that in the garage. That was, God, the whole garage was painted like blue from that explosion because it was like blue powder explosion.
I remember thinking, how do we clean this up? And then we
We
didn't.
moved. So somebody else dealt with that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, because yeah,
And we
this is
did the
something
crash.
we shot. The crash happened, and then I just shot a plate of them exactly where they landed here for this. And
And
you can
that
see
was
this
tiny
later.
too. Like
Yeah, those are tiny because they're
those are
wine
wine
bottles,
bottles, yeah.
but they are big, like XL wine bottles
Oh yeah, we
from the
got
99
special
cent
wine
store.
bottles, yeah. Pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip. And then insert the Quattro Cano there in the background, which was fun. Like, it's just what doing stuff on green screen affords you. Like, I actually get to spend the time like looking at the sets and the composition and being like what the backgrounds need, and I get to actually make it look closer to what I want, as opposed to like you get there on set, you're doing 20 jobs and you just try the best you can just to get something in focus and move on. It's fun being able to like take time and actually give this more of a visual vibe.
I like it too because I really don't like in movies where people have these super emotional conversations and it goes on and on and on. Like I feel like this is a nice, appropriate.
Well, yeah, well, I mean that's a very 80s thing and
Yeah,
90s where it's
exactly.
like movies got to the point. Now it's yeah, you'll have 5 minutes of yammering on and it's fine in some movies, but I don't think anyone wants 5 minutes of yammering on in an FP movie. Again, your sound effect.
I
Pew!
know, I love
Every time
those.
there's a knock punch, there has to be the pew. Okay, so now we're going into the interior Quattro Cano,
Oh boy,
which
this is a
this
journey.
set was always a big question mark. I knew kind of what I wanted because I wanted to have like this. I wanted it to be a Mortal Kombat background, like the pit from the early Mortal Kombat games, but then mixed with like Lord of the Rings sort of shit because we're getting into like Lord of the Rings Mass Effect territory for the future movies. So basically, I'm glad that I built this was the last set I built because it's the final like reel of the movie. And I needed to employ everything I'd learned up until this point. And I'd taken pictures of so many different things that I hadn't used up until this point, like the kind of weird scaffolding back there, the weird buildings, the duck statues, different pieces of rocks and caves that I went around and acquired to build this kind of set. We have pieces of the styrofoam we didn't use for the Bako
Yeah.
background for the bridge underneath. And just kind of using all those like Legos or Lincoln Logs to build this whole set. And
I like the Duckman that Michael Lee
yeah,
made
the
that are
Duckmen are
featured
great
again.
because, this is all built by the Ducks once upon a time. So got
Exactly.
to employ that. And then I knew that we always knew we wanted a Mortal Kombat fight sequence because I'm like, I know there has to be a fight, but we have to employ the beatnuts now. We have to employ the idea that when there's action sequences, it feels like you're in a video game because we are in a video game essentially. So we were just like, what angles can we use? We can use first person for punches, which were just us setting up a camera and punching in front of it from the side with a wide angle lens. And then we had our big side-scrolling shots, which were fun. Which we had two different angles going, like the wide angle and then a medium, so I could do zooms back and forth in to kind of simulate a full one-shot fight sequence, like you're actually playing a video game for this.
I do really like as well, like you don't really see it much, but when COVID first started, L-Dub's necklace is actually like a COVID.
Yeah, it says COVID bitch
It says
on there.
COVID bitch, and it's got like the is it the virus like shape is on it too.
Yeah, and
Michael Lee
like
made that.
in little gemstones, like it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But back then we were like, oh, this joke, this isn't going to be real. And then by the time
We're
the
like,
neck,
we should just do it
by the
because like
time we
I'm
started
sure.
shooting the necklace, it was like, oh crap, this is very real. All
Yeah.
right, well,
Oh dear. And then we
that
got a
means
few requests, but it was very custom
very custom,
and very
maybe too custom.
yeah, Michael Lee exclusive that one.
Yeah, go back and pray to your booze comment. Yeah, yeah, this was. There's just so much work going on here. Those scenes where I'm talking about, where there's like 60 layers of video, definitely everything in here.
Yeah.
Just so many different things going on. And this was a fun scene with Mike, and I'm actually just lying down on the living room floor painted green here. I was actually pretty happy with how this turned out because I was like, God, is this going to work at all? I'm just like on a green floor. Sure enough, found some good rock backgrounds down at Brewing, and
Yep. Which are actually super sharp, so I'm glad that's not practical.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I like this point for AK too.
Yeah, it's where it's AK finally becomes Atro again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun playing with the colors in here because when obviously L-Dub is working on the comet, everything's turning red, and you have the different blues and reds fighting each other here, especially in this scene because AK is trying to play back and forth between the Rage and the Renenge,
Mm.
which side he's going to take. And then once we get to Chitro, obviously it comes to Pink because she's the in between. She's this new sort of power I wanted to have, and spoiler, not spoiler, but
Oh, you'll also see that's a good one of every beatnik is different. Like yours are blue, AKs are red.
L-Dubs are gold.
Yeah, so we had five sets of
Yeah,
six
libs are
sets.
silver.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different sets of beatnucks on set, and now it's turning more and more red as we go. And this is the fun thing about having all the power in post with this is you can really dial things in like that, which would be a complete nightmare to do practically, and we just wouldn't be able to do it because we don't have the manpower.
No.
And I love with L-Dub's eyes on the mask that Michael Lee put in there. They
Mm.
actually flared out the lens of the camera, so we had these cool star filters, and we love our star filters.
Love star filters. The more star filters, the better. And then with this effects program, we can enhance the star filter even
Absolutely.
more.
And then the little L-Dub
Yeah.
there, which had to put L-Dub on a green box, basically on a green
Yeah.
screen, just shaking around, simulating falling, and then make him fall digitally later to where he, gets hit in the nuts, and that's a self-destruct sequence. Nutbuster blow up, the obvious demise. And now L-Dub is gone? Question mark?
Is
Maybe?
L-Dub ever gone?
Is he ever gone? How many L Black Ds are out there? We don't
I
know.
don't know.
I really liked the way this whole scene came together. I like now that
Yeah.
like the colors have calmed down. It's like the pinks and the purples are coming back, the blues coming back, and everything. Peace is returning.
Yeah.
And this moment, this whole scene was really funny to me because it's this really like big family moment. And I remember writing this and being like, oh shit, well, when you think about it in the time wise, uh, Chitro would know absolutely who AK is,
Yes.
Uncle Atro. And no one else here really knows what's going on, including
No.
Mike. Like AK would have no idea who she is. So this idea that it's like, oh hi, who's this?
Yeah.
And she knows absolutely who Uncle Atro is. And Mike had one of the funniest improv lines ever, or just for me personally, what I thought was one of the funniest ones in this scene. We go through this whole big, huge sequence of telling, Chitro that like she has to basically go maybe commit suicide to save the world. And then AK's Mike is just like, yeah, nice meeting you. Because like you forget in the scene that he's just standing there watching this whole thing, and I thought it was a really funny moment to be
Me
like,
too.
oh yeah, by the way, I'm here too.
And I do like, it'll be tight.
Yeah, it'll be chill.
Just like,
We're
oh,
gonna go do something extremely dangerous and we have no idea what happens after this.
yeah.
Thank God you're doing it. It's like riding a bike. And nice meeting you.
That's,
Perfect.
yeah, it's so good.
Classic Mike. And this came in late in the editing process when I was putting together this final reel.
Mm.
It wasn't scripted this way, but I wanted to replay your voiceover because I thought it was a good moment for the whole time loop of what happens and what the whole movie is essentially about Chaitro coming into her own and saving the world. And I like the tension at the beginning of the movie where you have a daughter who just wants to be special, wants to be seen, and you have to be the
Yeah.
parents that are like, you're going to be the most special, but we can't tell you.
Yeah, it's a really nice play on those two moments, and I think it kind of explains why we may not seem like the best parents at the beginning of this film.
Absolutely.
But I love it. It's super heartfelt. It's actually a really cool message, and I really like Chaitro's journey in the next one as well.
Absolutely. And the holding hand shots that bookends us.
Yeah,
Chaitro went into the remix, we were holding hands, and now we're finally holding hands again. Our
she's coming
relationship
out.
is back. Bonded by their daughter. Yeah, and we're back in the remix room. Or I think this was also one of those scenes we had to just press record and run into.
I think it's also like bonded by their daughter, but like I feel like we're bringing a much bigger issue. Like FP, you had to save, the FP, and FP2, like we kind of introduced the fantasy world, but now we're trying to save like the world,
We're trying to save the Earth. Like
the
there's
Earth.
like the existentialist crisis of
Yeah,
like climate change is basically coming to the FP. What the hell do we do about it?
exactly. I really like this costume too. These are our FP4 costumes, and I
Our future
love it.
timeline, yeah.
Love it. The little duck on the side of my
There's a
holster.
lot of really fun
Yeah.
details in those that'll definitely come to light more in the fourth movie, especially when the J-Tro jacket comes off.
And I do like how this one ends.
Oh yeah, yeah. And this was all. I built this. This is actually real life places up in my dad's, like ranch, as it were. These are real backgrounds, and I took like in the reverse. That's the real backgrounds that looks out over the valley, and then I put the wet shit coming in, some of the skyscrapers out there, and
But I love we have all the key players in this scene.
oh yeah, this scene's great because it's kind of like your Empire Strikes Back ending, where it's
Yeah.
like the real shit's coming. Here comes the final battle in FP4. Yeah, it definitely gets me excited to work on FP4 again, seeing this scene because where it goes from here is very fun. And it took a while to build this shot because there's so many layers and it's just a long shot for an FP movie. Like it's rare to have like a shot that's 10 seconds long in these movies.
I really like it.
Yeah, it turned out
Oh my gosh.
very well. Oh yeah, and then now we've got coming up
Mm.
Freddie, our poster designer,
Well, yeah.
an artist. He did all these rad sketches just as he was figuring out the poster, and I was like, "Can we use those for the end credits?" Because I
Mm.
love Lord of the Rings, obviously, especially Return of the King, with the end credits where they have all the hand-drawn moments with the characters. And he just started giving me those, and I thought he had like five or six. Then all of a sudden, he was like 30. So I was like, "Oh my God, we have an entire credit sequence." So
I really love them.
it's definitely hands down my favorite credit
Yeah.
sequence yet of any of the movies because it has like the
Freddie
vibe
is
of what you
just
want.
amazing. He was one of like the main art competition judge in FP Fest this year, and he did our poster.
He was also the winner of the FP Fest
Yeah.
Creativity and Shit Art Contest, FP Fest 2020.
Yeah. So when we were thinking of how do we do this poster, we really loved his work so much, so we got in touch with him.
And I always felt like the FP was going to be a live action anime. That's kind of the vibe I always wanted for these movies. So with his art style, I just fell in love with it, and I was like, "Can we have you?" And
And he does do custom
he
requests.
does do custom requests if you go after Freddie Daryl Seeliger, if I'm pronouncing that right. God, I hope so. Um, he will take your requests.
It's just so cool. I love that one too with the Duckman.
Oh yeah, the Duckman. I remember that was when Freddie and I were talking just like a month or two ago, and it was like, are there any holes or anything? He keeps offering more drawings. I'm like, well, I guess a
Yeah.
Duckman and Beat Pods.
Yeah.
These are two like the final drawings he threw out. And he's always like, oh, I just made this little so and so sketch. I just did it like in half an hour, and you're like, how the hell?
Is that in there, like his making of
His
the,
making of the
yeah.
poster is in the
It's pretty
behind the beats
crazy.
special feature, which is worth checking out. He does this time lapse of how he creates these drawings, and it's just incredible.
I love it when all the muggers' names come up. It always makes me happy.
I know so many. It's
Ah,
amazing.
Jim Scary Torn Softy.
Speaking of Freddy, there's your guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah, Nick did the trailer, which is amazing. Nick, he edited FP2 and he edited like one of the original FP shorts. He's been around
Mhm.
with me since I was 18 or 19 making movies, and I love having Nick back.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure. My dad provided us all that special effects equipment, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. Between Michael Lee Studios and RT's Ranch, we
Yeah,
make it work.
we
That's the
definitely
biggest
make
thing
it
is
work.
see what you have access to.
It's always my main note to anyone making movies is write something for what you have, not what you hope you're going to have.
Mm.
And even as ridiculous as these movies are and like crazy the scope, you're like, no way. I'm like, I always had something or knew a way to get something that would produce what I wanted. And, rarely do I just say I write something that I have no idea how to do
Yeah, and we
or have
already have the
access to.
Torch here already giving us music for FP4, so we're like
Well, yeah, because
ready.
they scored like so much music in this movie that I think they had 20 minutes of extra music
Mm.
than runtime on this movie, which was pretty crazy. They really outdid themselves.
Yeah, they're the most wonderful guys. Where that's the thing with this universe is, in our own lives as well, like we just get to meet some of the best people.
Yeah, and then we have our extremely long list of special thanks here because it's everyone who contributed to the Indiegogos to get us to this point to be able to make this movie, and other people who have helped us along the way. And it's quite an honor to see how many names are in here. Like, it's ridiculous. If you told me this years ago that this many people would give a shit about this universe, I would
Yeah.
never have believed it. And here we are, just constantly trying not to disappoint them.
Well, I hope if you're listening to the commentary, you're not disappointed.
Yeah. And if you are, you know where to find me to Twitter, and I'm used to it. Just unload.
Oh, it's really lovely. Like we know most of these people, and it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun just, you know, virtually meeting all these people over the years and just seeing them and time and again and checking in and catching up with people and chatting.
Oh, this is my favorite, the duck.
Oh yeah, this was one of the final pictures Freddie gave me, and I was like, God, the duck has to swim by across screen because all the other ones are like zooming in and
Yeah,
out. And I was like, there's no way the duck can't swim by the credits. That's the only way.
it's perfect.
It is.
It's really nice too because a lot of the people who like sponsor us kind of return for different things, and it's really nice to be able to put like a face to a name.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. We've kind of accidentally made a large friend group for ourselves
yeah, which
by
is
making
really
these.
nice.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's a little chitro,
Little Chitro.
just doing her.
And then, I mean, I guess we should have said at the beginning of the credits, stay until the end of the
Oh
credits.
yeah, stay until the end of the credits. If you haven't at this point, at the end of the credits, when you're literally what 5 seconds away from that, because there is a tease for where FP4 is going at the end of the credits, and I love this drawing that Freddie did
Oh,
of the Beat
yes.
fam. Thought that was adorable. And of course, it
D1.
was like, how do we end it? You know, Finn or Done?
Done.
DUN for sure. It was the
It's almost
FP's
Dune.
almost done. It's not quite. We have about 3 more hours for it to be
And
due.
like, $100 million.
Oh God, 200,
400.
a million, billion. And this is insert character name here. You'll find out in FP4, who's trying to figure out what happened to quote unquote Pops, and you can decide for yourself what all this means. Let the speculation begin. But that is one pissed off duck.
That is one mad duck man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming out for the FP3 commentary, and we'll see you next